The morning sun was just starting to peek through the large windows of Los Angeles International Airport. It was barely 5 in the morning, and most people were still asleep in their homes. But the airport never slept. Even at this early hour, travelers rushed through the terminals with their suitcases, and workers moved quietly through the halls, keeping everything clean and running smoothly. Vin Diesel walked through Terminal 4 with his security team close behind him. He wore a simple black jacket and jeans, trying to keep a low profile. His flight to New York was scheduled to leave in just over an hour. He had interviews lined up for his new movie, and his schedule was packed tight. His assistant walked beside him, reading off the day's agenda from her phone. "Your car will be waiting when you land," she said. "The first interview starts at 11, then lunch with the studio executives, then 3 more interviews back to back." Vin nodded, only half listening. His mind was already thinking about the long day ahead. He had done hundreds of these promotional tours over the years. They were exhausting, but they were part of the job. He loved making movies, and if talking about them was what it took, he would do it with a smile. As they walked past the restrooms near Gate 47, something caught his eye. An older man sat on a metal bench against the wall. He wore a dark blue janitor's uniform with a name tag pinned to his chest. His head was down and his shoulders shook slightly. The man was crying. Vin slowed his pace. His security team kept walking for a few steps before they noticed he had stopped. His assistant turned around, a confused look on her face. "Vin, we really need to keep moving," she said gently. "Security is already set up at the gate and we're cutting it close." But Vin was not listening anymore. He was watching the janitor, who had not noticed them. The man held a crumpled tissue in his hand and wiped his eyes. He looked tired. The kind of tired that comes from more than just a long shift. It was the tired that comes from carrying heavy burdens. "Give me a minute," Vin said quietly. His assistant opened her mouth to protest, but she knew that tone. When Vin made up his mind about something, there was no changing it. She exchanged glances with the security team, and they all stepped back, giving him space. Vin walked over to the bench and sat down next to the janitor. The man looked up, startled. His eyes were red and wet with tears. For a moment, he just stared at Vin, probably trying to figure out if he was seeing things. Recognition slowly dawned on his face. "Are you—" the man started, then stopped. He quickly wiped his face with the tissue, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I should get back to work." "Hey, it's okay," Vin said softly. "Take your time. Are you all right?" The janitor looked down at his hands. He seemed torn between wanting to leave and needing to talk to someone. Vin had a way of making people feel comfortable. It was not just because he was famous. There was something genuine about him, something warm. "I'm fine," the man said, but his voice cracked. "Just having a hard morning?" Vin nodded. He did not push. He just sat there, present and patient. Sometimes that was all someone needed. Just someone to sit with them. After a long moment of silence, the janitor spoke again. "My name is Carlos," he said. "Carlos Martinez. Nice to meet you, Carlos." "I'm Vin." Carlos let out a small, sad laugh. "I know who you are. My granddaughter loves your movies. She watches Fast and Furious every weekend." His voice caught on the word granddaughter, and fresh tears filled his eyes. "Tell me about her," Vin said. Carlos pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He scrolled through his photos until he found one. He turned the screen to show Vin. A little girl with bright brown eyes and a huge smile looked back at them. She was wearing a pink dress and holding a stuffed animal. "This is Sophia," Carlos said, his voice thick with emotion. "She's 8 years old. Smartest kid you ever met. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up." "She's beautiful," Vin said, and he meant it. There was something special about the joy in that little girl's smile. "She is," Carlos whispered. "She's everything to us. To me and her mother, my daughter, Maria." Vin noticed Carlos had used the word "is," but there was a sadness in his voice that suggested something was very wrong. He waited, giving Carlos space to share what was on his heart. "I got a call an hour ago," Carlos finally said. "From the hospital. Sophia is sick. Her heart. There's something wrong with her heart. She needs surgery, and soon. But it's expensive. So expensive." He put his face in his hands. "I've been working at this airport for 15 years. I work nights, sometimes double shifts. But it's never enough. It's never going to be enough." Vin felt his own chest tighten. He thought about his own children at home, safe and healthy. He could not imagine the pain Carlos was feeling, the helplessness of wanting to save someone you love but not knowing how. From across the terminal, Vin's assistant checked her watch nervously. The security team stood alert but respectful, understanding that their client was doing something important. Other travelers walked by, some doing double takes when they recognized Vin Diesel sitting on a bench with a janitor. But most were too focused on catching their own flights to notice. "How much time does she have?" Vin asked quietly. Carlos looked up, surprised by the question. "The doctor said we have about 6 weeks to figure something out. After that..." He could not finish the sentence. Vin sat forward, his elbows on his knees, thinking. His assistant was walking toward them now, clearly worried about the time. But Vin held up one hand, asking for more time. She stopped and waited. "Carlos," Vin said, turning to look at the older man directly, "I want you to tell me everything. I want to know about Sophia, about the surgery, about what you need. Can you do that for me?" Carlos stared at him, confusion and hope mixing on his face. "But why? You don't even know us. You have a plane to catch." "The plane can wait," Vin said. "Right now you need someone to listen, so I'm listening. Tell me about your granddaughter." And there on a metal bench in Los Angeles International Airport, as the sun rose higher in the sky and travelers rushed past them, Carlos began to tell his story. Carlos took a deep breath and wiped his eyes again. He looked down at his phone at the picture of Sophia and then began to speak. His voice was quiet at first, but as he told his story, it grew stronger. "I came to America 30 years ago," Carlos said. "I was young then, maybe 37 years old. I came from a small town in Mexico where there was no work, no future. I left everything behind. My parents, my brothers, my friends. I came here with just a suitcase and a dream." Vin listened carefully, not interrupting. He could see the pain and pride mixed together in Carlos's face. "It was hard at first," Carlos continued. "I did not speak good English. I took any job I could find. I washed dishes. I cleaned offices at night. I worked in warehouses. Sometimes I worked 3 jobs at the same time. I would finish one job at midnight, sleep for 3 hours, then wake up for the next one." "That's incredible," Vin said quietly. "That takes real strength." Carlos shook his head. "It was not strength. It was love. I was sending money back home to help my family. And I was saving money so I could bring my wife and children here. It took me 3 years, but I did it. I brought them to America." He smiled for the first time since Vin had sat down. It was a sad smile, but there was warmth in it. "My wife Rosa, she was so happy to be here. We rented a small apartment in East Los Angeles, 2 bedrooms for 4 of us, but we did not care. We were together. That was all that mattered. I kept working hard," Carlos said. "Rosa got a job cleaning houses. We saved every penny we could. We wanted our children to have better lives than us. We wanted them to go to college, to have good jobs, to not have to work as hard as we did." Vin nodded. He understood that feeling. His own parents had worked hard to give him opportunities. "We have 2 children," Carlos explained. "A son, Miguel, and a daughter, Maria. Miguel is a teacher now. Can you believe it? My son teaches history at a high school in Pasadena. He has a wife and 2 kids of his own. I'm so proud of him." "And Maria?" Vin asked gently. Carlos's face changed. The smile faded, replaced by deep sadness. "Maria is my baby girl. Even though she's 32 now, she's still my baby. She's a nurse. She works at a clinic in Boyle Heights. She helps people who don't have much money, people like we were when we first came here." "She sounds like an amazing person," Vin said. "She is," Carlos agreed. "She has the biggest heart. When she was little, she would bring home stray cats and dogs. She would find hurt birds and try to help them. Rosa used to say Maria was born to take care of others." Carlos paused, and Vin could see him gathering strength to continue. 8 years ago, Maria married a good man. His name was David. He was a construction worker, very hard-working, very kind. They were so happy together. And then Sophia came along. Carlos's voice softened when he said his granddaughter's name. From the moment she was born, that little girl was sunshine. She smiled all the time. She laughed at everything. She made everyone around her happy. Vin looked at the photo on Carlos's phone again. He could see that sunshine in Sophia's smile. "But then 5 years ago there was an accident," Carlos said, his voice breaking. "David was working on a building downtown. Something went wrong with the scaffolding. He fell. He died before the ambulance even got there." "I'm so sorry," Vin said. He put his hand on Carlos's shoulder. Carlos nodded, accepting the sympathy. Maria was destroyed. We all were. David was only 30 years old. Sophia was just 3, too young to really understand that her daddy was never coming home. But Maria is strong like her mother was, Carlos continued. She got through it. She had to for Sophia. She went back to work. She took extra shifts when she could. My wife Rosa and I helped take care of Sophia while Maria worked. Those were good years, even though we missed David every day. Vin noticed Carlos said was when talking about his wife. Your wife? He asked gently. Rosa died 2 years ago, Carlos said. Cancer. It happened fast. Too fast. One day she was fine, and 3 months later she was gone. He wiped his eyes again. That was the hardest thing I ever went through. Losing the love of my life. But I had to keep going. Maria needed me. Sophia needed me. The airport continued to buzz with activity around them. People rushed by with their luggage. Announcements echoed through the terminal. But in that small space on the bench, time seemed to slow down. So it's just been the 3 of us, Carlos said. Me, Maria, and Sophia. We live together in a small house in East LA. The same neighborhood where Rosa and I first lived. Maria works at the clinic during the day. I work here at the airport at night. We make it work. It's not easy, but we manage. Sophia is the light of our lives, Carlos continued, and for a moment his face brightened. She's so smart. She loves to read. She reads everything she can get her hands on. Books, magazines, even the cereal boxes at breakfast. She wants to know everything about everything. Vin smiled. She sounds special. She is, Carlos said. She's in 3rd grade now and she's at the top of her class. Her teachers say she could be anything she wants to be. A doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, anything. But Sophia says she wants to be a teacher like her Uncle Miguel. She says she wants to help kids learn and grow. Carlos's face fell again as he came to the hard part of the story. 3 months ago, Sophia started getting tired a lot. Maria thought maybe she was just growing. You know how kids get tired when they grow. But it got worse. Sophia would get out of breath just walking up the stairs. She would get dizzy at school. Maria took her to the doctor, Carlos continued. They ran tests. Then more tests. Then they sent us to a specialist at Children's Hospital. That's when we found out. He took a shaky breath. Sophia has a heart condition. It's rare. The doctor used a long name I can't remember. But what it means is that part of her heart is not working right. It's getting worse. If we don't fix it soon, it will be too late. Finn leaned forward. What do the doctors say? Can they fix it? There's a surgery, Carlos said. It's new, kind of experimental. Not many doctors know how to do it. But there's a team at Children's Hospital who can. They've done it before with good results. The doctor says if Sophia has this surgery, she can live a normal, healthy life. She can grow up, go to college, have her own family someday. That's good news, Vin said. That means there's hope. Yes, Carlos agreed. But there's a problem. A big problem. He looked down at his hands. The surgery cost $150,000. Our insurance won't pay for it because they say it's experimental. They say it's not necessary, that we should wait and see. But the doctors say we can't wait. Sophia's heart is getting worse every week. Vin felt anger rise in his chest. How could an insurance company put a price on a child's life? Maria has been working extra shifts, Carlos said. She works at the clinic during the day, then she works at a hospital at night 3 times a week. She barely sleeps. In 3 months, she's saved $12,000. I picked up extra shifts here, too. I work 6 nights a week now, sometimes 7. I've saved about $4,000. But it's not enough. It's not even close to enough. What about other family? Friends? Vin asked. Miguel helps when he can, Carlos said. But he has his own family, his own bills. We've asked everyone we know. Maria set up one of those online fundraising pages. We've raised about $3,000 from people in our neighborhood and from Maria's co-workers. People have been so kind, but we're still so far from what we need. Carlos looked at Vin with desperate eyes. The doctors say we have 6 weeks, maybe 8 at the most. After that, the damage to Sophia's heart will be permanent. The surgery won't work anymore. She'll need a heart transplant, and kids can wait years for a new heart. Years she doesn't have. His voice rose with emotion. I'm 67 years old. I've worked my whole life. I've done everything right. I've worked hard. I've saved money. I've paid my taxes. But I can't save my granddaughter. I can't do the one thing that matters most. What kind of grandfather am I if I can't protect her? Carlos, Vin said firmly. Listen to me. You're an incredible grandfather. You're doing everything you can. This isn't your fault. But Carlos shook his head, tears streaming down his face. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. All that matters is that Sophia needs help and I can't give it to her. That's why I was crying when you found me. I just got off my shift and I got a call from Maria. The hospital wants to schedule the surgery, but they need a deposit first. $50,000 just to schedule it. We don't have it. We don't have any way to get it in time. He looked at Vin with broken eyes. I don't know what to do. Vin sat quietly for a moment, taking in everything Carlos had told him. Around them, the airport continued its busy morning routine. Coffee shops were opening and the smell of fresh pastries filled the air. Families gathered at gates, excited for vacations. Business travelers typed on their laptops. But none of that seemed real right now. All that mattered was the man sitting next to him and the little girl who needed help. Can I see more pictures of Sophia? Vin asked. Carlos seemed surprised by the request, but he nodded. His hands were still shaking as he unlocked his phone and opened his photo gallery. He scrolled through hundreds of pictures and Vin could see the love in every single one. There was Sophia on her first day of school, wearing a backpack almost as big as she was. Sophia at her 8th birthday party, her face covered in chocolate cake. Sophia reading a book in bed, her stuffed bear tucked under her arm. Sophia helping Carlos in the garden, dirt on her nose and a huge smile on her face. This one is from last month, Carlos said, stopping on a recent photo. Sophia sat at a kitchen table working on homework. She looked tired, and Vin could see the dark circles under her eyes, but she was still smiling. Even when she's not feeling well, she still does her homework. She never complains. She's the bravest person I know. Vin felt something stir in his chest. He had seen a lot in his life. He had played tough guys in movies, pretended to be fearless and strong. But real bravery was not about fighting or car chases. Real bravery was an 8-year-old girl doing her homework when her heart was failing. Real bravery was a grandfather working himself to exhaustion to save his granddaughter. Real bravery was a single mother working 2 jobs and refusing to give up hope. Tell me about Maria, Vin said. Your daughter. Carlos's face softened. Maria is like her mother. Strong, kind, beautiful inside and out. After David died, I thought she might break. But she didn't. She cried, yes. She grieved. But then she got back up. She had to for Sophia. She sounds incredible, Vin said. She is, Carlos agreed. But I worry about her. She's pushing herself too hard. Last week she fainted at work. They had to give her IV fluids because she was dehydrated. She forgets to eat. She forgets to sleep. All she thinks about is Sophia and how to get the money for the surgery. Carlos scrolled to a picture of a woman in her early 30s. She had Carlos's warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. She stood with her arm around Sophia, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. That's Maria, Carlos said. This was taken 6 months ago before we found out about Sophia's heart. See how happy they are? I want them to be that happy again. I want Sophia to grow up and be healthy. I want Maria to stop worrying and just be a mom, not a mom who's scared every single day that she's going to lose her daughter. Vin's own eyes were getting wet now. He thought about his own family, his own children. What would he do if he were in Carlos's position? He would do anything. He would sell everything he owned. He would work 100 jobs. But what if that still wasn't enough? From across the terminal, Vin's assistant caught his eye. She pointed to her watch and mouthed, "We have to go." His flight was boarding. If he didn't leave now, he would miss it. There were people waiting for him in New York. Interviews scheduled, meetings planned, contracts signed. But Vin didn't move. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "Carlos," he said. "I need Maria's phone number." Carlos looked confused. "What? Why?" "I want to help," Vin said simply, "but you can't. I mean, you've already been so kind just listening to me," Carlos stammered. "You're a busy man. You have a plane to catch. I didn't tell you all this to ask for money. I needed someone to talk to." "I know you didn't ask," Vin said, "but I'm offering." "Give me Maria's number." Carlos hesitated. Vin could see the pride and shame fighting inside him. Carlos had worked his whole life to take care of his family. Asking for help even when offered went against everything in his nature. "Please," Vin said gently. "Let me help." Slowly, Carlos recited Maria's phone number. Vin typed it into his phone, then he sent a quick text message. Is this Maria? This is Vin Diesel. I'm here with your father, Carlos. I'd like to talk to you about Sophia. Carlos's eyes went wide. She's going to think it's a joke. Or a scam. Give it a minute, Vin said with a small smile. Sure enough, less than 30 seconds later, Vin's phone rang. He answered it and put it on speaker so Carlos could hear. Hello? A woman's voice came through, shaky and uncertain. Is this really Vin Diesel? Yes, Maria, it's really me, Vin said. I'm here at the airport with your father. He's been telling me about Sophia. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then Maria's voice came back thick with tears. I don't understand. Why are you? Your father was having a hard morning, Vin explained. I saw him and stopped to talk. He told me about Sophia's condition, about the surgery she needs. Dad? Maria said. Is this real? Is this really happening? Carlos leaned toward the phone. It's real, mija. He's really here. Maria, Vin said. I want to meet Sophia. I want to meet you. Where is she right now? She's at Children's Hospital, Maria said. They're keeping her for observation this week. Her numbers haven't been good. I'm here with her now. Vin looked at his assistant across the terminal. She was pacing now, clearly stressed about the missed flight. He made a decision. What room is she in? Vin asked. Room 412, Maria said. But you don't have to. I'm coming there now, Vin interrupted. I'm going to miss my flight, but that's okay. Some things are more important. I'll be there in about an hour. You're coming here? Maria's voice rose in disbelief. You're coming to the hospital? Yes, Vin said firmly. Carlos, you're coming with me. But I just got off work, Carlos protested. I haven't showered. I'm a mess. You're perfect, Vin said. Come on. Let's go see your granddaughter. Vin stood up from the bench and held out his hand to Carlos. The older man stared at it for a moment, then took it. Vin pulled him to his feet. Maria, we'll see you soon, Vin said into the phone. I can't believe this is happening, Maria whispered. Thank you. Thank you so much just for caring. I'll see you soon, Vin repeated, then ended the call. He walked over to his security team and assistant. They all looked at him with questions in their eyes. Change of plans, Vin announced. Cancel the flight. Cancel everything today. Tell the studio something came up. We're going to Children's Hospital. His assistant's mouth dropped open. Vin, you can't just cancel everything. The studio is expecting you. The interviews are scheduled. This is a multi-million-dollar campaign. I don't care, Vin said. There's a little girl who needs help. That's more important than any interview. But, his assistant started. No buts, Vin said, his voice kind but firm. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. We're going to the hospital. Book the next flight to New York for tomorrow. Tell the studio I'm sorry, but this is important. If they have a problem with it, they can call me directly. His security team exchanged glances, then nodded. They had worked with Vin long enough to know when he made up his mind about something. One of them pulled out his phone to call their driver. Carlos, Vin said, turning back to the older man. My car is parked outside. We're going to go see Sophia right now. Carlos looked overwhelmed. Tears were streaming down his face again, but this time they were different. These were not tears of despair. These were tears of hope. I don't know what to say, Carlos whispered. You don't have to say anything, Vin replied. Just take me to your granddaughter. As they walked through the terminal together, people started to notice. Whispers spread through the crowd. Several people pulled out their phones to take pictures. Some called out to Vin, asking for autographs or selfies, but Vin just smiled politely and kept walking, his hand on Carlos's shoulder, guiding him forward. They rode the escalator down to the ground floor. Vin's security team cleared a path through the crowd. His driver was already waiting at the curb with a large black SUV. Children's Hospital, Vin told the driver as they climbed in. And step on it, but safely. Carlos sat in the back seat looking around at the expensive leather interior. He had spent his whole life cleaning places like this, but he had never ridden in a car like this. It felt surreal. Are you okay? Vin asked him. Carlos nodded, but more tears fell. I never expected. I was just going to work like any other night. And now you're going to see your granddaughter, Vin said with a smile, and I'm going to meet her. Tell me more about her. What does she like to do? What makes her laugh? As the SUV pulled away from the airport and headed toward downtown Los Angeles, Carlos began to talk about Sophia again. This time his voice was lighter. He talked about how Sophia loved to draw pictures of flowers, how she made up songs about her stuffed animals, how she always wanted to help cook dinner, even though she usually made more mess than food. Vin listened to every word, asking questions, laughing at the funny stories. And as they drove through the morning traffic, both men felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. They felt hope. The drive to Children's Hospital took 45 minutes through Los Angeles morning traffic. Carlos sat in the back seat of the SUV, watching the city pass by through the tinted windows. He kept glancing at Vin, as if making sure this was real and not a dream. Vin was on his phone making calls and sending messages. Carlos could hear pieces of the conversations. "Move everything to tomorrow," Vin said to someone. "I don't care what they say. This is important. This is more important." When they pulled up to the hospital, several security guards in the parking lot recognized Vin immediately. Their eyes went wide, but they stayed professional. Vin's security team went in first to make sure the path was clear. The last thing Vin wanted was to cause a scene in a children's hospital. "Ready?" Vin asked Carlos as they prepared to get out of the car. Carlos took a deep breath and nodded. "I still can't believe this is happening." They walked through the main entrance of Children's Hospital. The lobby was bright and colorful, designed to make sick children feel less scared. Cartoon characters were painted on the walls. A volunteer played gentle music on a piano in the corner. Despite the cheerful decorations, Carlos always felt heavy when he came here. This was where sick children came. This was where families hoped and prayed for miracles. The woman at the front desk looked up and did a double take when she saw Vin. She opened her mouth but seemed unable to speak for a moment. "Good morning," Vin said with a warm smile. "We're here to visit Sofia Martinez in room 412. Yes, of course," the woman stammered. She typed on her computer. "Are you family?" "He's with me," Carlos said, stepping forward. "I'm her grandfather." The woman nodded and printed out visitor badges. Her hands shook slightly as she handed them over. "4th floor. The elevators are to your right." As they walked to the elevators, Carlos noticed staff members stopping to stare. Word was spreading quickly through the hospital that Vin Diesel was here. By the time they reached the 4th floor, a small crowd of nurses and doctors had gathered near the nurses' station, trying to act casual but clearly excited. Carlos led the way to room 412. Before they went in, Vin stopped him. "Is there anything I should know?" Vin asked. "About Sophia's condition?" "I don't want to say anything that might scare her." Carlos appreciated the thoughtfulness. "She knows she's sick. She knows her heart isn't working right. But Maria and I try to stay positive around her. We tell her the doctors are going to fix it and she's going to be fine. We don't want her to be scared." Vin nodded. "I understand. We'll keep things happy and light." Carlos knocked softly on the door, then pushed it open. The room was small but had a large window with sunshine streaming through. Balloons floated near the ceiling and get well cards covered one wall. In the bed, a small girl lay propped up on pillows. She had an IV in her arm and several monitoring wires attached to her chest, but her eyes were bright and alert. She was reading a book. Next to the bed sat a woman who had to be Maria. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. But when she saw her father, her face lit up with relief and love. "Papa," Sophia called out when she saw Carlos. Then her eyes moved to the man standing next to her grandfather. Her mouth fell open. The book slipped from her hands. "No way," she whispered. "No way, no way, no way." Vin walked into the room with a huge smile. "Hi, Sophia, I'm Vin." Sophia looked at her mother, then at her grandfather, then back at Vin. "You're really him. You're really Vin Diesel. Dominic Toretto. The Fast and Furious guy." "That's me," Vin laughed. "Your grandpa told me you're a fan. I've seen every movie like 100 times." Sophia said, her voice rising with excitement. Then she suddenly grabbed her chest and winced. Maria was on her feet instantly, moving to her daughter's side. "Slow down, baby. Remember what the doctor said." "No getting too excited." "But Mom," Sophia protested. "Vin Diesel is in my room." "I know, sweetie. I know." Maria looked at Vin with grateful eyes. "Thank you for coming." "I still can't believe you're here." Vin walked closer to the bed. He pulled up a chair and sat down so he was at eye level with Sophia. "Your grandpa told me about you. He said you're really smart and you want to be a teacher." Sophia nodded, trying to calm her breathing. "I want to teach little kids. Like kindergarten or 1st grade. I like helping people learn things. That's an awesome dream, Vin said. The world needs more good teachers. What's it like being in movies? Sophia asked. Her eyes were shining with curiosity. For a moment, she didn't look like a sick child. She just looked like an excited 8-year-old meeting her hero. For the next 2 hours, Vin sat with Sophia and talked. He told her funny stories from movie sets. He taught her how they did some of the car stunts using special effects. He showed her pictures on his phone of the cars from the movies. Sophia asked a million questions and Vin answered every single one with patience and enthusiasm. Carlos and Maria sat together on a small couch near the window watching. Maria held her father's hand tightly. Tears ran down both their faces, but they were smiling. It had been so long since they had seen Sophia this happy, this full of life. I can't believe he's really here. Maria whispered to her father. When you called me, I thought you were confused. I thought maybe you were so tired you were seeing things. I thought the same thing at first, Carlos whispered back. He just sat down next to me and started talking. Like he had all the time in the world. Like I mattered. You do matter, Papa, Maria said, squeezing his hand. After a while, Vin pulled out his phone. Sophia, want to make a video? A video? Sophia asked, her eyes going wide again. Yeah, we can make a video message for your class. Tell them you're going to be back at school soon and you met someone pretty cool. Sophia giggled. They're never going to believe this. Vin held up his phone and started recording. Hey everyone in Mrs. Peterson's 3rd grade class. This is Vin Diesel. I'm here with my friend Sophia Martinez. She's in the hospital right now, but she's the bravest person I've ever met, and I've met a lot of people. Sophia is going to be back at school very soon, and when she gets back, I want you all to give her a huge welcome. Can you do that for me? Sophia waved at the camera, beaming. Hi everyone. Miss you. See you soon, Sophia, Vin said, then ended the video. I'll send this to your mom and she can share it with your teacher. Thank you, Sophia said quietly. Then her expression became more serious. Can I ask you something? Anything, Vin said. Are you going to help me? Sophia asked. Her voice was small and scared now. With my heart? The room went silent. Maria stood up, looking worried. Sophia, sweetheart, you don't need to. But Vin held up a gentle hand. He looked directly at Sophia, his face serious but kind. Yes, he said. I'm going to help you. In fact, that's why I came here today. Your grandpa told me about your heart and about the surgery you need. I want to make sure you get that surgery. Really? Sophia's eyes filled with tears. But it costs so much money. Grandpa and Mama have been so worried. I hear them talking at night when they think I'm asleep. Maria covered her mouth with her hand, more tears falling. She had tried so hard to stay strong in front of Sophia, to not let her daughter see how scared she was. The money doesn't matter, Vin said firmly. What matters is getting you better. What matters is making sure you grow up to be that teacher you want to be. What matters is making sure your mom and grandpa stop worrying. Sophia launched herself forward and wrapped her arms around Vin's neck. He hugged her back carefully, mindful of all the wires and tubes. Thank you, Sophia whispered into his shoulder. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Over Sophia's shoulder, Vin looked at Maria and Carlos. Both of them were crying openly now. Vin felt his own eyes getting wet. You're welcome, kiddo, he said softly. After a few minutes, Sophia pulled back. She was tired now. The excitement and emotion had drained her energy. Maria helped her settle back into the pillows. Why don't you rest for a bit, Maria suggested. Mr. Diesel probably needs to go. Actually, Vin said, I'd like to stay a little longer if that's okay. But first, Maria, can I speak with you outside? And maybe we should bring Sophia's doctors into the conversation too. Maria nodded. She kissed Sophia's forehead. I'll be right back, baby. Grandpa will stay with you. Vin, Maria, and Vin's assistant stepped into the hallway. Within minutes, one of Vin's security team had located Sophia's main doctor. Dr. Sarah Chen was a cardiac specialist who had been treating Sophia since the diagnosis. Dr. Chen, Vin said, shaking her hand, thank you for taking care of Sophia. Can you walk me through her condition and the surgery she needs? Dr. Chen looked surprised but quickly shifted into professional mode. Sophia has a rare condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Part of her heart muscle is too thick, which makes it hard for her heart to pump blood effectively. Without treatment, it will continue to get worse. And the surgery? Vin asked. There's a procedure we can do, Dr. Chen explained. It's called a septal myectomy. We remove the thickened part of the heart muscle. It's delicate surgery, but our team has done it successfully many times. Sophia is a good candidate. If we do the surgery in the next 6 to 8 weeks, she has an excellent chance of a full recovery. And the cost? Vin asked. Dr. Chen looked uncomfortable. The total cost, including surgery, hospital stay, and follow-up care, is approximately $150,000. Later that evening, after Vin had finally left the hospital and Carlos and Maria had time to process everything that happened, Vin sat in his hotel room thinking. His assistant had rebooked his New York trip for the next morning, but Vin couldn't focus on work. His mind kept going back to Sophia's bright smile, to Carlos's tears of relief, to the look of hope on Maria's face. He picked up his phone and opened social media. He had millions of followers across different platforms. People who loved his movies, who followed his life, who looked up to him. Maybe they could help too. Vin spent the next hour writing a post. He wanted to get it right. He wanted to share Sophia's story but also respect the family's privacy. He wanted to inspire people to help others, not just Sophia. Finally, he posted. The message was simple but powerful. He shared a photo of himself with Sophia at the hospital. She was giving a thumbs up and both of them were smiling. He didn't show the medical equipment or make it look sad. He made it look hopeful. The caption read, "Today I met the bravest person I know. Her name is Sophia, and she's 8 years old. She has a heart condition that needs surgery. I met her grandfather Carlos this morning at the airport. He was crying because he didn't know how to save his granddaughter. But here's what I learned today. Carlos is a hero. He's worked at the airport for 15 years, often taking extra shifts to provide for his family. Maria, Sophia's mom, is a hero too. She's a nurse who helps people who can't afford health care. And she's been working double shifts to save money for Sophia's surgery. This family has done everything right. They've worked hard. They've sacrificed. But sometimes hard work isn't enough. Sometimes people need help. I'm blessed to be in a position where I can help Sophia. I'm covering the cost of her surgery. But there are thousands of other families just like Carlos and Maria. Families who are doing everything right but still can't afford the medical care their children need. So here's my challenge to all of you. Find someone who needs help. It doesn't have to be money. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your skills. Maybe it's just listening to someone who needs to talk. Be like Carlos, who gave everything for his family. Be like Maria, who never gave up hope. Be like Sophia, who stays brave even when she's scared. Let's take care of each other. That's what family does, and we're all family. Vin hit post and set his phone down. He didn't know what kind of response to expect. He had posted about charity causes before, but this felt more personal. Within 5 minutes, his phone started buzzing nonstop. Comments poured in. Thousands of them. Then tens of thousands. People were sharing the post. Other celebrities were reposting it. News outlets were picking it up. The comments brought tears to his eyes. This is why we love you, Vin. Thank you for using your platform for good. My daughter had a similar condition. I know how scary this is. Thank God for people like you. I'm a janitor too. Carlos's story made me cry. Thank you for seeing us, for respecting us. I don't have much money, but I'm going to volunteer at my local children's hospital this weekend. Thank you for the inspiration. But then Vin noticed something else happening. People were starting to donate money. Not to Sophia, since Vin had already covered her costs, but to other families. Someone set up a fund at Children's Hospital Los Angeles for families who couldn't afford their children's medical care. Within an hour, the fund had raised $50,000. Within 3 hours, it had raised $200,000. By the next morning, it had raised over $2 million. The hospital called Vin's assistant, amazed and grateful. The fund would help dozens of children get the surgeries and treatments they needed. News crews wanted to interview Vin, but he declined. This isn't about me, he told his assistant. This is about families like Carlos and Maria. If the media wants a story, send them to the hospital. Let them talk to the doctors about the families who need help. Over the next few days, Sophia's story spread around the world. It appeared on morning news shows, in newspapers, on blogs and websites. But what touched people most wasn't just Vin's generosity. It was Carlos's story. People were moved by this janitor who had worked his whole life with dignity and love. They were inspired by Maria's dedication to both her patients and her daughter. They were amazed by Sophia's bravery. Carlos became an unexpected symbol. Letters poured into the hospital addressed to him. People thanked him for his hard work. They shared their own stories of working difficult jobs to provide for their families. They told him he was a hero. One letter came from a CEO of a major company. It read, "My father was a janitor too. He worked nights so he could be with us during the day. He never complained. He just loved us and provided for us. Your story reminded me of him. Thank you for representing all the hardworking people who keep our world running. People like you and my father are the real heroes." Another letter came from a young girl Sophia's age. "Dear Mr. Carlos, I saw you on TV with your granddaughter. My mom works 2 jobs too, just like Sophia's mom. Sometimes I worry about her because she's always tired, but your story made me feel proud of her. Thank you for showing me that hardworking families are special." Carlos read every letter. He kept them in a box by his bed. When he felt tired or overwhelmed, he would read them and remember that his life mattered, that his work mattered. But the biggest surprise came a week after Vin's post. The CEO of the company that managed Los Angeles International Airport called Carlos personally. Carlos was terrified at first, thinking he was in trouble. But the CEO had different news. "Mr. Martinez," the CEO said, "your story has touched a lot of people, including me. I've learned that you've been working for us for 15 years, often taking extra shifts. Your supervisors say you're one of the most reliable, hard-working employees they've ever had. I'm embarrassed that we didn't know about your family's situation. We should have been taking better care of you." Carlos didn't know what to say. "Effective immediately, we're making some changes," the CEO continued. "First, we're giving you a raise, a significant one. Second, we're improving our health insurance for all employees. From now on, it will cover experimental procedures that are recommended by doctors. What happened to your family shouldn't happen to anyone. Third, I'd like to set up a meeting with you and our HR team. We want to understand how we can better support our employees who are facing difficult situations." Carlos was speechless. Finally, he managed to say, "Thank you. Thank you so much. No, Mr. Martinez, thank you. Thank you for your years of dedicated service. Thank you for reminding us what really matters." When Carlos told Maria about the call, they both cried again. But these were different tears. These were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope for the future. "Papa," Maria said, hugging her father tight, "your hard work mattered. It always mattered. But now people see it. They see you." The day before Sophia's surgery, Vin visited the hospital again. This time, he brought his own children with him. He wanted them to meet Sophia, to understand why helping others was so important. Sophia was nervous about the surgery, but she tried to be brave. When Vin walked in with his kids, her face lit up. "Are these your children?" she asked. "They are," Vin said, introducing each one. "They wanted to meet you. I told them about the bravest girl I know." Vin's children had brought gifts. Coloring books, stuffed animals, and a special blanket covered with cars from the Fast and Furious movies. Sophia hugged the blanket to her chest. "This is the best present ever," she said. "You know what?" one of Vin's daughters said. "My dad talks about you all the time. He says you're his hero." Sophia looked at Vin, surprised. "I'm your hero?" "You are," Vin said seriously. "You've been so brave through all of this. You haven't complained. You've kept smiling. You've kept hoping. That takes real courage. That's the kind of person I want to be. The kind of person I want my kids to be." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I don't feel very brave. I'm scared about tomorrow." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," Vin said, kneeling by her bed. "Being brave means you're scared, but you do it anyway. Tomorrow you're going to have your surgery. You're going to be scared, and that's okay. But you're going to get through it. And you know why?" "Why?" Sophia whispered. "Because you have your mom and your grandpa who love you more than anything. Because you have doctors who are experts at fixing hearts. Because you have millions of people around the world praying for you. And because you, Sophia Martinez, are a fighter. You're strong, and you're going to be okay." Sophia reached out and hugged Vin. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping Grandpa and Mama. Thank you for making us feel like we matter." "You do matter," Vin said, his voice thick with emotion. "You matter so much." That night, after Vin left, Carlos and Maria stayed with Sophia in her hospital room. None of them could sleep. They talked about happy things. They talked about what Sophia wanted to do when she got better. She wanted to go to the beach. She wanted to go back to school. She wanted to help Grandpa in his garden. "When I grow up," Sophia said sleepily as the night grew late,
I want to help people like Mr. Vin helped us.
I want to be someone who makes people feel like they matter. You already do that, baby, Maria said, stroking her daughter's hair. You already do. In another part of the city, Vin lay awake in his hotel room. He couldn't stop thinking about tomorrow. The morning of Sophia's surgery arrived cold and gray. The sun had not yet risen when Carlos and Maria woke up in the uncomfortable chairs in Sophia's hospital room. Neither of them had really slept. They had dozed off for minutes at a time, then jerked awake, checking to make sure Sophia was still breathing, still okay. Sophia was already awake when the nurses came in at 6 in the morning. She looked small in the hospital bed. Her dark hair spread across the pillow. She tried to smile when she saw the nurses, but her eyes showed her fear. "Good morning, sweetheart," one of the nurses said gently. "How are you feeling?" "Scared," Sophia admitted quietly. "That's perfectly normal," the nurse said. "But you know what? Dr. Chen is the best. She's done the surgery many times and she's going to take great care of you." The next hour passed in a blur of preparation. More nurses came in. They checked Sophia's vital signs. They explained what would happen. A kind anesthesiologist came to talk to Sophia about the medicine that would make her sleep during the surgery. He showed her the mask she would breathe through and let her smell the flavored gas they would use. She chose strawberry. Maria held Sophia's hand through all of it, fighting to keep the tears from falling. She had to be strong for her daughter. Carlos stood near the window, his hands clasped together, praying silently. At 7:30, Dr. Chen came into the room wearing her surgical scrubs. She pulled up a chair and sat down so she was eye level with Sophia. "Ready?" Dr. Chen asked with a warm smile. "I guess so," Sophia said, her voice small. "I'm going to fix your heart," Dr. Chen said. "And when you wake up, you're going to feel sore for a while. But then, you're going to get better and better every day. Before you know it, you'll be running around, playing with your friends, doing all the things 8-year-olds are supposed to do." "Promise?" Sophia asked. "I promise I'm going to do everything I can," Dr. Chen said. "And I'm very good at my job," Sophia nodded. Then she looked at her mother and grandfather. "I love you both so much." "We love you too, baby," Maria said, her voice breaking. She leaned down and kissed Sophia's forehead. "So much. More than all the stars in the sky." Carlos came to the other side of the bed. He took Sophia's small hand in his wrinkled, work-worn one. "You're the bravest girl in the whole world," he said. "I'm so proud of you." "I'm trying to be brave like you, Grandpa," Sophia said. "You've always been brave for me." A knock on the door interrupted the moment. Everyone turned to see who it was. The door opened and Vin Diesel walked in. He wore a simple gray sweatshirt and jeans. His eyes were tired, like he hadn't slept much either. "Hope I'm not too late," he said. "Mr. Vin." Sophia's face brightened despite her fear. "Couldn't let you go into surgery without saying good luck," Vin said, walking over to her bed. "He was carrying something behind his back. What's that?" Sophia asked, curious. Vin pulled out a small stuffed toy. It was a car, the same kind from his movies, but this one was special. It had a little button on it, and when he pressed it, it said in Vin's voice, "You got this, Sophia. Your family." Sophia took the toy with wonder in her eyes. "I can keep this?" "Forever," Vin said. "And whenever you feel scared or sad, you press that button. And remember that you're not alone. You have your family here, and you have me cheering for you." Sophia pressed the button again. "You got this, Sophia, your family." She hugged the toy to her chest along with the blanket Vin's kids had given her. "Thank you," she whispered. 2 orderlies came in with a gurney. It was time. They gently helped Sophia onto the gurney and began wheeling her out of the room. Maria walked beside it, still holding her daughter's hand. Carlos followed, and Vin came after them. They rode the elevator down to the surgical floor. The hallways were quiet and clinical. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. When they reached the doors to the operating room, they had to stop. This was as far as family could go. "I'll see you when you wake up," Maria said, leaning down to kiss Sophia one more time. Tears were streaming down her face now, and she didn't try to hide them anymore. "Love you, Mama," Sophia said. "Love you more," Maria replied. Carlos bent down too, his old knees creaking. "See you soon, mi amor." "See you soon, Grandpa." Vin leaned over the gurney. "Remember, you're a fighter. You're strong." "I'll be right here waiting for you." Sophia nodded, trying to be brave. But as the nurses began to push the gurney through the operating room doors, a small sob escaped her. "Mama," she called out. The doors swung shut. Sophia was gone, taken into the bright lights of the operating room where Dr. Chen and her team waited. Maria collapsed. Her legs just gave out and she fell to the floor, sobbing. Carlos knelt beside her, holding her, crying too. Vin stood there feeling helpless. He was used to being the strong one, the hero. But here he was just a man watching a family in pain. He helped Carlos get Maria to her feet. They walked to the surgical waiting room, a sad place filled with other families waiting, hoping, praying. The room had magazines no one read, a television no one watched, and coffee no one wanted, but everyone drank anyway. They sat down in the uncomfortable chairs. Maria buried her face in her hands. Carlos put his arm around his daughter, his own tears falling silently. "She's going to be okay," Vin said, though he wasn't sure if he was trying to convince them or himself. The surgery was expected to take 6 hours. 6 hours of not knowing, 6 hours of imagining the worst, 6 hours of hoping for the best. At first, the minutes dragged by. 8 o'clock became 8:30. 8:30 became 9. Every time the door opened, Maria's head snapped up, hoping for news. But it was always someone coming to tell another family about their loved one. Around 10 o'clock, Vin's assistant arrived with food. None of them had eaten, but none of them were hungry. Still, Vin made Carlos and Maria eat something. They needed their strength. "Tell me a happy story about Sophia," Vin said, trying to distract them. "Tell me about a time she made you laugh." Carlos thought for a moment, a small smile appearing through his tears. "Last month, she decided she wanted to make dinner for us. She's 8, so Maria and I were supervising, but Sophia insisted she was in charge. She was making spaghetti. She put in way too much salt," Maria added, a weak laugh escaping. "The sauce tasted like the ocean, but she was so proud of it. She served it to us with this huge smile and waited for us to take a bite." "What did you do?" Vin asked. "We ate it," Carlos said. "Every bite. We told her it was delicious. And you know what? She knew it was terrible. We could tell she knew. But she appreciated that we ate it anyway, that we loved her enough to eat salty spaghetti." They shared more stories as the hours passed, stories of Sophia's first day of school, of her learning to ride a bike, of her singing songs she made up. Each story was a treasure, a reminder of the beautiful life they were fighting to save. Vin shared stories too, about his own children, about his own father and the lessons he learned growing up. Somehow, in that sad waiting room, the three of them became closer, united by hope and fear and love. At noon, a nurse came out. "Family of Sofia Martinez?" Maria jumped to her feet. "Yes, is she okay?" "The surgery is going well," the nurse said with a kind smile. "Dr. Chen wanted me to update you. They're about halfway through. Everything is proceeding as planned." Relief washed over them. Halfway through. Sophia was still fighting. "Thank you," Maria whispered. As the afternoon wore on, other people started arriving at the hospital. Vin's security team brought more food. Miguel, Carlos's son and Sophia's uncle, came with his wife and children. Co-workers from Maria's clinic came to show their support. Even some of Sophia's classmates and their parents came, bringing cards and flowers. The waiting room that had felt so lonely that morning was now full of people. All of them there for Sophia, all of them showing love and support for this family. At 2:30 in the afternoon, the doors to the operating room opened. Dr. Chen walked out, still in her surgical scrubs. She pulled her mask down and looked at Maria and Carlos. Everyone in the waiting room went silent, holding their breath. Dr. Chen smiled. The surgery was a success, Maria screamed, a sound of pure joy and relief. She fell into her father's arms, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. The waiting room erupted in applause and cheers. Strangers hugged each other. People cried happy tears. Vin felt his own tears fall freely now. He had been so scared, so worried. But Sophia had made it. She had fought and she had won. "She's in recovery now," Dr. Chen explained. "The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm very optimistic. Her heart looks good." The procedure went exactly as planned. She's going to need time to heal, probably 6 to 8 weeks before she's back to normal, but I believe she's going to make a full recovery. "Can we see her?" Maria asked. "Soon," Dr. Chen said. "Let's give her another hour to wake up from the anesthesia. Then you can go in just for a few minutes. She'll be groggy and tired, but she'll know you're there." The longest hour of their lives followed, but finally a nurse came to get Maria and Carlos. Only 2 people could go in at first. Vin stayed behind, letting them have their moment. They walked into the recovery room with trembling legs. There, in a bed surrounded by machines and monitors, was Sophia. She looked so small, so fragile. Tubes and wires connected her to various equipment. But her chest was rising and falling steadily. She was breathing. She was alive, Sophia, Maria whispered, taking her daughter's hand.